For breaking news, go to iDiskiTimes.co.za.
iDiskiTV, powered by World Sports Betting, iDiskiTimes.co.za. East Mamelodi Sundowns 2, Orlando Pirates 1. Mdlalo we-Betway Premiership udlala ke-FNB Stadium. Orlando Pirates had to move lo mdlalo from Amstel Orlando Arena. You say FNB. Just to accommodate abantu abaninzi sibonile crowd. It was beautiful to watch. Over 60,000 people came to FNB namhlanje to witness that top of the table clash between the two informed teams in the league, Sundowns, Orlando Pirates. Sundowns making sure they're collecting 4 points with Orlando Pirates this season. Mr. Nkewu, benibule nawo lo mdlalo.
Asibulisa Tasheni, sibulisa nakubantu emakhaya. Ngumdlalo omkhulu. Amaqela amakhulu ompondo zihlanjiwe. Ingone ngonyama. Kuthiwa ke azigqubi izibembini ebuhlanu. Ke kwanyanzeleka ibe khona ephumayo. It was a good game, Tasheni. It was a very good game. I think that maybe in the first half it was very cagey. I spoke last week about the scoreboard pressure. I think that Orlando Pirates knew that if we win this game, we are going to lead the league by 9 points. Sundowns knew as well that if we win this game, we will close the gap to 3 points. So in the first 30 minutes of this game, I saw that the teams were both scared of the consequences. And that's why it was a little bit cagey. What Orlando Pirates did, which was I found interesting, is that they relinquished their ability to play. So they told themselves that we're not exactly going to play football. What we will do is to ask everyone to come back when we need to defend. And what we'll do, you see, the first 3 or 4 attacks the Orlando Pirates were longer balls going forward. And they were finding Hoto or they were finding Umufukeng. It was 30 or 40 yards passes because they were not willing to play their midfielders, Unemtajela, no Makitleni Makaula. They were trying to get longer balls. And what I noticed with the Sundowns as well is that this is a very good strategy by Orlando Pirates because the Sundowns there were too many gaps in between the Sundowns defenders. And Orlando Pirates, within the first 15 minutes, could have scored 2 goals. Could have been a goal by Dion Hoto, a very good reflexive save by Rulani Williams. And then there was a chance by Yandelam Butuma, who had a ball straight to Rulani Williams as well. And it was not as a result of playing. Orlando Pirates were just finding moments where if it's a free kick, they take it quick to Hoto, was creating an additional man on the right-hand side just next to Mudau. So there were those tactical nuggets, but in terms of the game itself, the teams were scared. Sundowns knew what were the consequences. Orlando Pirates knew what the consequences would have been for not playing. And then at some point in the first half, there is a turning point, in my opinion. The turning point is there's a ball played by Orlando Pirates and then it's chipped to Tito Maswanganyi. He's 1v1 with the goalkeeper and then Kuluman Ndamane comes to recover, which is a good recovery, but he does touch Tito Maswanganyi, and that's supposed to be a penalty. Although I'm more sympathetic to the referee because in real time, all of us did not know whether or not that was a penalty. I was the only one who said, I suspect that there's a man touch there. We saw someone getting the ball, Kuluman Ndamane, but I thought to myself, in order for him to get to the ball, he would have gone through a player, Tito, and Tito was down. Whilst he was down, Mamelodi Sundowns gets the ball, retrieves it, and they go score the other side. So I thought that was a big turning point in that game because if you give Orlando Pirates a penalty in that instance, the game changes because if Pirates maybe gets the first goal, they then defend the whole game. But it is Sundowns' manna from heaven to say, okay, you don't get a penalty there, you play to the whistle, you go the other side and you score a goal. So I thought the game changed in this instance because I think if it was still 0-0, even after that point, it was going to continue to be this cagey game, both teams scared to attack each other because they both were playing in moments. We're going to do this to you, we're going to bite you and then come back. And then Sundowns as well do the same thing, bite you and then come back. It was not a game that was open, and I can understand it as well. It could not afford to be open because there were consequences, and the consequences were big. But I thought for me, if the referee gives a penalty, then the game changes completely.
Mr. Nkewu, yazi, there's a game in the Kumblayo. Remember the game in 2016 where Orlando Pirates lost 6-0 to Sundowns?
Yes.
They will look at that game and say 6-0. It was a bloodbath. Yes, it was.
Yeah, we remember it as a bloodbath.
We remember, but if you remember the first 15 minutes of that game, Gif Motupa had a chance, he missed. Utabisa Kutumela has a chance, he misses. Now, Sundowns, soon after his chances, goes on to score.
And they were so clinical.
And then
that
they
day.
were so clinical. Now, we are going back now, kumdlalo first round of the season in Loftus.
Yeah.
Remember the chances that Orlando Pirates had in that game?
Yeah.
And the chance Siema where he missed.
1v1 with the
1v1. Now, Siza Apa Namhlanje. Sundowns had two clear-cut chances and Zga Nuno, and they scored. Orlando Pirates had about 3 in the first half, and they didn't score. Now, would you say that is the difference between Sundowns and Orlando Pirates? That Sundowns, they are more clinical because of the quality of players that they have.
Yeah.
And on the other side, Orlando Pirates, they squander chances because coming into this game, remember, Coach Wadu, he won 3-0 last week against Mamelodi Sundowns, but he was still lambasting his players saying, this is not...
They're missing
They are
opportunities.
missing opportunities. And it came back just a few days later.
Yeah, just to answer your question, Tashane, I think it's a very... It's clear because this game was cagey. It was not going anywhere. Yeah. Sundowns was going to get 5 chances and 5 chances to Pirates, and it was going to be the difference of who scores their opportunities. Yeah. And I even said that if the chances that Mbutuma got were received by Brian Leon, he would have scored. And I suppose this is why even it's always saying it's a difference between experiences. I say it's a difference between quality.
Yeah.
It's the quality of the striker that Sundowns has and versus the quality of the striker that Orlando Pirates has. And I think Brian Leon, we keep on talking about him as well. I mean, what I want people to pick up about him is that he plays in 2 poles. He's either attacking the first pole, which is the goal that is scored against the MC Alger, and the goal that is scored against Usiema now. Attack the first pole, or you'll find him on the last pole. He does one of 2 things. He will either be on the last pole, or he's never in between. And I like that about him. He's very clever. And you can see that there's something noticeable about him. I know PSL defenders are going to catch up on this 6 months later because they don't watch football. But there's something very clear and noticeable. It's one thing to notice it. It's another thing to stop it. Is that he's very clever. He's doing one of... And you can... This is an indication of someone who was properly developed. Someone who was coached from when he was a kid. Coached by very clever strikers who themselves were very good in their playing days. Telling him to do one of 2 things. Make sure you are never next to the defender. You are always moving away from the defender. And make sure that when you are running towards the box, you are running with a purpose. One purpose is, if there's an opportunity, attack the first pole. You will tap it in. 2 identical goals that he scored. He scores today. He gets in front of CBSC behind Usiema, and then he did the same thing against the MC Alger. And then the other goal that he scored, even with MC Alger, was adjacent to the last pole based or relative to the action which is scored today as well. He's either on one of those, and if you see I think the goal he scored against the Orbit and other previous goals as well that he's scored. I think he's scored now 7 goals, if not 6 goals in 7 matches or something like that. So he's a very prolific striker. He knows exactly what he's trying to do. And just to answer your question, there's a difference between himself and Mbutuma. I like Mbutuma and I like fairy tale stories. You see, Uyanela Mbutuma plays for Richards Bay United. He comes from KZN. And if he plays for Orlando Pirates, one of the biggest, most beautiful institutions of our country, then it's a dream come true for him and for Umbogazi. All of these people, Babuye Makaya, or come from different provinces, they come and play for one of the biggest, iconic institutions in our country. But then the truth has to be said as well, that every single time when we watch the game together, and I say about him that there's something incomplete. Every time I see him, I'm like, there's something incomplete. Whether, yes, of course, if you play for Orlando Pirates, you're going to get goal-scoring opportunities. Sure. And he gets himself into goal-scoring opportunities. That's why Makgopa is still playing for Orlando Pirates, because he plays for the best team, one of the best teams in the country, he will get goal-scoring opportunities. But for me, something is incomplete. It's like there's a taste that's not there in your coffee or your tea, Mbutuma. Whether it's something he missed in his steps in development, which is something that is completely different or a contrast to what's happening with O'Brien Leon. So those 2 players, similar age bracket and different type of development, and you can see it's different outcomes. Because if Tito did not save him in that moment, it would have been 2-0, because that chance was Mbutuma's chance. He misses it. It's a sitter. If Brian Leon receives the same opportunity, he scores there, and then Orlando Pirates would have been 2-0 down if he was not rescued by Tito. I thought that these 2 teams were not willing to punch each other. They were willing to allow the game to meander in the midfield. There were always going to be one or few opportunities here and there, and I think that the difference would have been who gets to score their opportunities. Because the Sundowns, I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say they had 2 chances in the first half. Yeah. That's what they had. Yeah. What they did right, though, with Sundowns, to their credit, was they went back to their roots of ball retention, ball circulation, receiving the ball. In fact, they were even fishing Orlando Pirates. Baba Loba, Uguti, come and fetch the ball. They were even playing, and I was saying, when I was seeing him, like, just get rid of the ball. But you could see that the plan was to get Orlando Pirates out of position through a ball retention in their half, Sundowns, in their own defensive third. They were playmaking, getting Orlando Pirates out of position, and then they were getting out. And more often than not, they were successful with Tutebza, Jaden Adams, which those players were very crucial to them during that build-up. But it was not a build-up that was creating 7 chances all the time. It was build-up, ball retention, which was good for Mamelodi Sundowns. Orlando Pirates, without the build-up, but trying something completely different with a longer pass, but they had maybe 3 or 4 opportunities. So it was always going to be who gets to finish their opportunities.
Mr. Nkewu, uJaza sesinikile signal before sivale but andifuna uyivala sakhange sithethe ngayo ucoach Miguel Cardoso. Going to lamdlalo we-MCLJ, he was under pressure. There were talks. Mhlawumbi, if he had lost that game, mhlawumbi ngesingathi coach of Sundowns.
100%.
But he's a coach of Sundowns because uthathe Sundowns wayebeka kwi-quarterfinals of CAF Champions League. Namhlanje uthathe Sundowns from 6 points. Between and the Pirates were reduced like gap to 3 points. Now, as wins Zimbini, the MCLJ, Nale, Orlando Pirates, Tiduktini, the future coach Miguel Cardoso.
Yeah, absolutely, Dashane. Love that question because if you are willing to criticize someone, then you should be also very quick to praise them.
Yeah.
Coach Miguel Cardoso, last week the build-up was about if he loses to coach Rulani Mokoena, his job is done. He's out. He does not have a job. And he rescues himself. Number one, he goes to Ilupopo, he gets a 1-1 score, which if he loses, it would have been even more difficult to play against the MCLJ in the first place. When he plays against the MCLJ, he dominates them to a point where I was not even willing to analyze that game. I was like, guys, the team that won there, that dominated, won, well done, 100-0. That's it. It doesn't even deserve to analysis because it was so dominant. It was so convincing. And then he comes in this game where if Orlando Pirates wins are going to be 9 points ahead. And again, same starting lineup, same approach of dominating the opposition, and then he wins. There are turning points in people's careers. 1 week in football, you are about to get fired. The next, you are holding the Betway Premiership if it does achieve that, or you are holding the CAF Champions League if it does achieve that. To show and to prove how pivotal this week was, he then, after beating MCLJ convincingly and is about to play Orlando Pirates, he then gets a very favorable draw in the CAF Champions League. He gets Stade Malien. The reason why I'm saying it's favorable because he could have got Pyramids, he could have got Al Ahly, and then he gets a team that doesn't normally get to the quarterfinal.
In fact, Stade Malien, this is the first time in their history playing in knockouts.
There you go. There you go. It's a club with no pedigree, which means that if Mamelodi Sundowns gets through Stade Malien, anything is possible because then they go to the semifinals, they play Al Ahly or Pyramids or whoever they're going to play next. Then anything from there is possible because you will have 4 matches after Stade Malien to then win the Champions League. And he's played 2 consecutive finals and he lost both of them. So, Miguel Cardoso, congratulations, coach, and well done. And of course, football is a game of results. You're going to be criticized if you don't win the Champions League. If you don't win the league with Mamelodi Sundowns, you're going to be criticized. There was a stat that SuperSport put up before the game in the build-up. They were showing Mamelodi Sundowns are 7 points less than where they were last season at the same spot, at the same point. They have won 3 less games. They've scored 10 less goals. So that means it is true that Mamelodi Sundowns are in a state of decline. And Nati, we've seen even if they were winning the same number of games, we've seen that in the style of play it has changed. It has become unwatchable at times. But what I've loved about Coach Miguel Cardoso is that in the last few matches, it's been the same starting lineup, same approach, very offensive. It's a Sundowns that kind of reminds you of its former self. And this is what Mamelodi Sundowns fans want. But also we are grateful for the title race. I think that if we are quick to criticize Coach Miguel Cardoso, we should also be quick to say, well done, congratulations. I don't think he's out of the woods yet because you still have to win the Champions League. That's what Klopi Mutsepe told us, that if you're a Sundowns coach, you must win the Champions League. And if he doesn't win the league in South Africa after 8 years of Sundowns winning the league, then his job is still on the line. He's not out of the woods yet, but it's been a very good couple of weeks.
Mr. Nkewu, thank you so much for your analysis, my good sir. FNB Stadium, as well as in Chilo, Namhlanje. Sundowns 2, Orlando Pirates 1. Mdlalo Betway Premiership. Thank you so much for watching iDiskiTV.
Hola Bafethu, this is Junior Kanye. Please subscribe to iDiskiTV. This is Bongane Benedict Villagazi, they call me so. Niyazi bafethu, Amakhosi for life, they are back in winning ways. Please, siyacela ukuthi subscribe iDiski TV.